Hello everyone, I am Vijay Kevlani, Assistant Professor, LJ Institute of Pharmacy. Welcome to MOOC Session Series, an initiative taken by LJ Institute of Pharmacy. In today's session, we are going to talk about Introduction to Autocoids and Histamine. So the term autocoid is derived from a Greek word autos and echos. Autos means self and echos means healing substance or remedy. So autocoids are self-healing substances. Autocoids are diverse substances produced by a wide variety of cells in the body having intense biological activity but generally act locally at the site of synthesis and release. Classification of autocoids. So autocoids are mainly classified into three classes: amine autocoids, lipid derived autocoids and peptide autocoids. In amine autocoids, examples are histamine and 5-hydroxytryptamine. In lipid derived autocoids, examples are prostaglandin, leukotriene and platelet activating factor. In peptide autocoids, examples are plasmakinin and angiotensin. In addition to that, cytokines like interleukins, TNF alpha, GM-CSF and several peptides like gastrin, somatostatin, vasoactive intestinal peptide, endothelin and many others may be considered as autocoids as they are released locally and they are playing role in healing system, right? So very first autocoid is histamine. So histamine means tissue amine, as histose means tissue and amine which is present in tissue is known as histamine. It is almost present in all animal tissues and in certain plants. For example, the plant is stinging nettle. Its pharmacology was studied in detail by Dale in the beginning of 20th century. Close parallelism was noted between its action and the manifestations of certain allergic reactions. Histamine was implicated as mediator of hypersensitivity and tissue injury reactions. It is now known to play important physiological roles. Histamine is present mostly within storage granules of mast cells. Tissues rich in histamine are skin, gastric and intestinal mucosa, lungs, liver and placenta. Non-mast cell histamine occurs in brain, epidermis, gastric mucosa and growing regions. Synthesis, storage and destruction. So histamine is beta-imidazolyl ethylamine. It is synthesized locally from the amino acid histidine and degraded rapidly by oxidation and methylation. So here is the structure of histamine and how it is synthesized. So from histidine by decarboxylation, in presence of decarboxylase, histidine is converted to histamine. This histamine is metabolized by N-methyltransferase to N-methylhistamine, and this N-methylhistamine further it is converted to methyl imidazolyl acetic acid in presence of monoamine oxidase, that is MAO. Another reaction or another way of metabolism is in presence of diamine oxidase, that is it will form imidazole acetic acid. In mast cell, histamine is held by an acidic protein or heparin within intracellular granules. When the granules are extruded by exocytosis, sodium ions in extracellular fluid exchanges with the histamine to release it free. So this is the reaction. Ultimately, sodium will take place of histamine and histamine will be freed. Increase in intracellular cyclic AMP inhibits histamine release. Histamine is inactive orally because liver degrades all histamine and that is absorbed from the intestine. Histamine receptors. So 4 types of histaminergic receptors have been clearly defined and cloned. Analogs to adrenergic alpha and beta receptors, histaminergic receptors were classified by S and scaled into H1 and H2 receptor. Those blocked by the available antihistamines were labeled H1. Sir James Black produced the first H2 blocker, burimamide, and confirmed this classification that H1 and H2 both receptors are available. Till now, only these two receptors are clinically relevant. A third H3 receptor, which serves primarily as an autoreceptor controlling histamine release from neurons in the brain, was identified in 1983. None of the H3 antagonist and agonist has found any clinical application so far. So these are receptors H1, H2 and H3. Selective agonist and antagonist are given here. Remember, all H histaminergic receptors are G protein coupled receptors. H1 receptors follows IP3-DAG pathway, H2 receptors follows adenyl cyclase pathway, and H3 receptor follows ion channel pathway. Distribution of H1 receptors, so it is present in smooth muscle where it produces contraction. In blood vessel and endothelium, it produces vasodilation and vasocontraction of large vessels. In afferent nerve ending, it stimulates the afferent nerve endings. In ganglionic cells, so these ganglionic cells are also stimulated. Adrenal medulla, it causes release of catecholamines, and in brain it causes stimulation. H2 receptor, which is present in gastric gland and causes acid secretion, and is also present in blood vessels and causes blood vessel dilation, and it is also present in heart, where in arteria it produces positive chronotropic and in ventricles it produces positive inotropic effect. In uterus it produces relaxation, and in brain H2 receptor produces stimulation. H3 receptor, which is present mainly in brain presynaptically, it inhibits the histamine release and produces sedation action. In lung, spleen, skin and gastric mucosa, it decreases histamine release. In ileum, it inhibits ACH release from myenteric plexus, and in certain blood vessels, it inhibits noradrenaline release and by that produces vasodilation. Pharmacological actions of histamine. So on blood vessels, histamine causes marked dilation of small blood vessels, which includes arterioles, capillaries and venules. If given subcutaneously, histamine produces flushing, heat, increased heart rate and cardiac output, and little or no effect on blood pressure. On rapid IV injection, it produces fall in blood pressure, dilation of cranial vessels. Vasodilation caused by histamine is partly indirect and mediated through endothelium dependent relaxing factor, the receptor being located on the endothelial cells. H2 receptors mediating vasodilation are located directly on the vascular smooth muscles. Large arteries and veins are constricted by histamine. Histamine also causes increased capillary permeability due to separation of endothelial cell resulting in exudation of plasma. The triple response induced by histamine is red spot, will and flare. A red spot is seen due to intense capillary dilation. Will is seen due to exudation of fluid from capillaries and venules, and flare is seen, that is redness in the surrounding area, that is due to arteriole dilation mediated by axon reflex. On heart, so direct effect of histamine on in situ heart are not prominent, but the isolated heart, especially in guinea pig, is stimulated. Rate as well as force of contraction is increased. These are primarily H2 responses, but H1 mediated negative dromotropic, that is slowing of AV conduction effect, has been demonstrated. On visceral smooth muscle, histamine causes bronchoconstriction. Guinea pig and patients of asthma are highly sensitive. Large doses causes abdominal cramp and colic by increasing intestinal contraction. Guinea pig uterus is contracted while that rat is relaxed. On glands, so histamine causes marked increase in gastric secretion primarily by acid but also pepsin. This is direct action exerted on parietal cells through H2 receptor. On sensory nerve endings, so itching occurs when histamine is injected IV or intracutaneously. Higher concentration injected more deeply causes pain. These are reflections of the capacity of histamine to stimulate nerve ending. Autonomic ganglia and adrenal medulla. So, these are stimulated and release of adrenaline occurs, which can cause a secondary raise in blood pressure. On central nervous system, so histamine does not penetrate blood-brain barrier. No central effects are produced on IV injection. However, intracerebroventricular administration produces raise in blood pressure, cardiac stimulation, behavioral arousal, hypothermia, vomiting, and ADH release. ADH is antidiuretic hormone release. Pathophysiological role of histamine. So, very first is gastric acid secretion. Second is in allergic phenomena. It also acts as neurotransmitter. It is also playing role in inflammation, in tissue growth and repair, and also during headaches. Histamine is found in brain. Uses. So histamine has no therapeutic use. In the past, it has been used to test acid secreting capacity of stomach, bronchial hyperactivity in asthmatics, and for diagnosis of pheochromocytoma. But this pharmacological tests are risky and not used now. Antihistaminic drugs. So these drugs competitively antagonize action of histamine at H1 receptor. So remember, H1 receptor blockers are known as antihistaminics, not H2 receptor blocker. The first H1 antagonists were introduced in late 1930s. More commonly employed now are the less sedating, non-sedating second generation H1 antihistaminics added after 1980s. So those found in 1930s are first generation H1 antagonist, and those found in 1980s are second generation H1 antagonist. Seemingly, H1 antihistaminics have diverse chemical structures, but majority have substituted ethylamine side chain. These are the classification of H1 blocker, first generation and second generation. First generation are those found in 1930s, while second generation are those found in 1980s. The another difference is first generation are having high, moderate or mild sedative action, while in second generation the sedative action is rarely seen. Pharmacological action. So qualitatively all H1 antihistaminics have similar action, but these are there are quantitatively differences, especially in sedative property. Very first is antagonism of histamine. The H1 antagonist effectively blocks contraction of intestinal smooth muscle, bronchoconstriction, triple response, and fall in blood pressure. Additionally, H2 antagonists are required for complete blockage of that caused by higher doses. Release of adrenaline from adrenal medulla in response to histamine is abolished. Contraction of large blood vessel by histamine is also antagonized. Anti-allergic actions. So many manifestations of immediate hypersensitivity are suppressed by antihistaminic drugs. Urticaria, itching, and angioedema are well controlled by these drugs. And CNS, so the older antihistaminic produce variable degree of CNS depression, which is side effect. This appears to be dependent on compound's ability to penetrate blood-brain barrier and its affinity for the central H1 receptor. Individual susceptibility to different agents varies considerably. The same drug and dose may incapacitate some subjects while others may remain alert. Some individuals also experience stimulant effect like restlessness and insomnia. Certain H1 antihistaminics are effective in preventing motion sickness. It is not clear whether this is due to antagonism of histamine in the brain or it reflects antimuscarinic property of these drugs. Promethazine also controls vomiting of pregnancy and other causes. Promethazine and few other antihistaminic reduce tremor, rigidity and cyalorrhea of Parkinsonism. Anticholinergic and sedative properties underlie the benefits of these drugs. Some older antihistaminics, especially cyproheptadine, have appetite stimulating effect. Some H1 antihistaminics are also effective anti-tussive drugs. Anticholinergic action. So many H1 blocker in addition to antagonize muscarinic actions of acetylcholine. So the anti-muscarinic action can be graded as high, low and minimal. So these are the classes of drugs which are producing anticholinergic action. But these drugs are antihistaminics, especially H1 blockers. If used concurrently with atropine or it substitutes phenothiazine, tricyclic antidepressants or disopramide, the anticholinergic actions adds up. Fifth is local anesthetic. So some drugs like phenidramine, promethazine, diphenhydramine have strong while others have weak membrane stabilizing property. However, they are not clinically stable local anesthetics because they cause irritation when injected subcutaneously. Sixth, on blood pressure. So most antihistaminic causes a fall in blood pressure on IV injection. Promethazine has significant alpha blocking activity. However, this is not evident on oral administration, though postural hypotension can occur in susceptible individuals due to antihistaminic drugs. Next is pharmacokinetics of antihistaminics. So the conventional antihistaminics are well absorbed from oral and parenteral routes, metabolized in liver and excreted in urine. They are widely distributed in body and enter brain. The newer compounds penetrate brain poorly, accounting for their low or absent sedating action. Duration of action of most agents is 4 to 6 hours, except maclozine, chlorpheniramine, mesolestin, loratadine, cetirizine, and fexofenadine, which acts for 12 to 24 hours or more. Hence, once a day dose is enough for these drugs. The H1 antihistaminics are mainly administered orally, but few are available from IV and IM. Side effects and toxicity. So sedation, diminished alertness and concentration, lightheadedness, motor incoordination, fatigue, and tendency to fall asleep are most common. Objective testing shows impairment of psychomotor performance. Patients should be cautioned not to operate motor vehicles or machinery requiring constant attention. Alcohol synergizes in producing these effects as do other CNS depressions. Few individuals, however, become restless, nervous, and are unable to sleep. Second generation compounds are largely free of CNS effects. Regular use of conventional antihistaminic is not advisable in children because the CNS depression property may interfere with learning and academic tasks. Dryness of mouth, alteration of bowel movement, urinary hesitancy, and blurring of vision can be ascribed to anticholinergic property of older antihistaminics. Epigastric distress and headache may be felt. Now, second generation antihistaminics. So, the second generation antihistaminics may be defined as those H1 receptor blockers marketed after 1980 which have one or more of following properties: absence of CNS depression property, higher H1 selectivity, no anticholinergic side effect, and additionally anti-allergic mechanism apart from histamine blockage. These new drugs have the advantage of not impairing psychomotor performance, produces no subjective effects, no sleepiness, do not potentiate alcohol or benzodiazepines. Some patients do complain of sedation, but incidence is similar to that with placebo. However, they have a narrow spectrum of the therapeutic usefulness, which is limited by the extent of involvement of histamine in this disease state. Uses. So allergic disorders, other conditions involving histamine, pruritus, common cold, motion sickness, vertigo, pre-anesthetic medication, cough, Parkinson, acute muscle dystonia as sedative, hypnotic, and anxiolytic. Frequently asked questions from this topic are: References. Thank you everyone. Please like, share and subscribe our channel Pharma Ignite for more updates. Thank you.